They moved silently through the deep, hidden beneath layers of restless ocean. These machines, built for stealth, prowled far from human sight. And then they were gone. No flare, no final broadcast, no trace. Vanishing as quietly as they had roamed, leaving only questions behind. Why, in the spring of 1968, did not one, but four military submarines from different nations disappear in unrelated parts of the world within just months of each other? Submariners are a rare breed. Even among the most elite military units, whether Britain's Special Boat Service or the U.S. Navy SEALs, few face the psychological and physical trials that submarine crews endure. Training is grueling, but that's only the beginning. Months are spent sealed in cramped, steel compartments deep below the surface, far from sunlight, fresh air, and open space. In the early decades of undersea warfare, equipment failure was not unusual, and the fear of sinking to the seabed, crushed by immense pressure and trapped inside a metal coffin, was a constant shadow in the minds of every crew member. By the 1960s, however, advances in design, engineering, and safety made catastrophic mechanical failure less likely. Modern subs could roam with a confidence earlier generations never had, which makes the events of 1968 all the more puzzling. That year, four advanced submarines, each from a different navy, vanished under strange and unexplained circumstances. The Israeli INS Dakar, the French Minerve, the Soviet K-129, the American USS Scorpion. Each loss happened within months, or even days, of another. In some cases, they disappeared in waters not far apart. To some, it seemed far too coincidental to be random. The chain of tragedies began in January 1968 with the Israeli Navy's Dakar. She wasn't new. Originally built for Britain's Royal Navy during World War II and launched in 1943 as HMS Totem, she was part of the T-class. 53 submarines designed for Atlantic and North Sea patrols. After the war, Totem shifted to Cold War duties, tracking Soviet submarines. A major refit in 1951 improved her capabilities, but by the mid-1960s Britain was phasing out older subs. In 1965, Israel purchased her, renamed her Dakar, and placed her under the command of Major Yoram Ranin. On January 9, 1968, Dakar departed Portsmouth, England, bound for Haifa, Israel. Originally scheduled to arrive February 2nd, her progress was swift enough that Major Ranin asked to move the arrival forward to January 29th. Permission was granted. Throughout the journey, Ranin sent regular position and status reports. On the night of January 25th, near Crete and headed towards Cyprus, Dakar signaled that she was in deep water, at full strength. The crew also reported rough weather. That was the last anyone heard from her. When repeated calls went unanswered, the British Admiralty alerted Haifa. Naval units from Israel, the UK, the US, Greece, Turkey, and Lebanon searched the area. The only clue, Dakar's emergency buoy, found southeast of Cyprus, its beacon active. But there was no submarine. By February 4th, the Israelis called off the search. All 69 crew were presumed lost. Only in 1999, over 30 years later, was Dakar's wreck discovered, lying nearly 10,000 feet down between Crete and Cyprus. The cause remains unknown. Just 2 days after Dakar went silent, France's Minerve vanished in the same sea. Launched in 1961, Minerve was a small, 58-meter Daphne-class submarine, designed for coastal reconnaissance but capable of long-distance patrols. She carried cruise missiles and had a strong service record in the Mediterranean. On January 26, 1968, Lieutenant André Fauve took command and prepared for a standard training patrol. The next day, storms battered the region. With weather worsening, orders came to cut the mission short. Fauve radioed that he would return to port in an hour. Minerve cruised at snorkel depth, making 12 knots, just 25 nautical miles from Toulon. Then, without warning, she was gone. Bad weather delayed search efforts, and when they began, nothing surfaced, not debris, not oil, not bodies. British and American vessels joined French ships in combing the Mediterranean, but Minerve had vanished as if plucked from existence. Her wreck was only found decades later, in 2019, still offering no conclusive answers. Two subs, Two disappearances, 48 hours apart. Coincidence? Or something far stranger? Next came the USS Scorpion, a U.S. Navy nuclear-powered submarine launched in 1960. She was among the most advanced of her time, powered by an S-5W nuclear reactor and armed with torpedoes and nuclear weapons. Her career was distinguished, even involving covert missions inside Soviet waters. But by the mid-1960s, wear and tear showed. In early 1967, she returned to Norfolk, Virginia, for what should have been a full overhaul. Oddly, only partial repairs were made, leaving some issues unresolved. In late 1967, under new Captain Commander Francis Slattery, Scorpion deployed to the Mediterranean. Ironically, the same waters where Dakar and Minerve would vanish soon after. She experienced repeated mechanical problems, leaks in the Freon cooling system, an electrical fire, and structural weaknesses from incomplete upgrades. By May 1968, she was ordered home for more repairs. On May 12, she stopped at Rota, Spain, then headed into the Atlantic. Days later, Slattery reported sighting Soviet ships and moved to observe them. That was the last transmission. After 6 days of silence, Scorpion was declared missing. The wreck was finally found in October 1968, 10,000 feet down, 500 miles southwest of the Azores. The cause remains debated. The K-129 was a Soviet Golf II-class ballistic missile submarine, carrying nuclear missiles and operating in the Pacific. With a crew of 83, she had completed 2 long patrols and was considered a prized asset of the Soviet Navy. In February 1968, she was sent to patrol near Hawaii. After a series of routine updates, her transmissions suddenly ceased. Soviet forces searched in secrecy, but the U.S., detecting unusual Soviet activity, launched their own hunt. In August, the U.S. located her wreck, shattered on the Pacific floor 1,500 miles northwest of Hawaii, at a depth of 4,900 feet. Radiation contamination spread across 20 miles. As with the others, the exact cause of her destruction was never proven. For modern submarines, each with skilled crews, lost in less than 6 months. This was during a period of relative maritime peace, despite the ongoing Cold War and the war in Vietnam. No battles were reported, yet these losses were catastrophic. Theories abound. Mechanical failure. Old age for Dakar, untested design for Minerve, structural problems for Scorpion, and navigational error for K-129. Hostile action. Soviet interference with Dakar due to its Cold War history. Egyptian claims, never proven, of sinking her after the 6-Day War. Cold War retaliation. Some suggest Scorpion and K-129 were sunk in tit-for-tat attacks, possibly covered up to avoid nuclear escalation. The unexplained. Speculation about unidentified submerged objects or other unknown forces, though no evidence supports this. Books such as Scorpion Down and All Hands Down have argued that espionage, intercepted communications, and secret naval warfare played a role, pointing to known Soviet spies inside the U.S. Navy at the time. Decades later, none of the 4 disappearances have definitive explanations. Each wreck tells only part of the story, and governments on all sides have kept key details classified. For the families, the loss was more than a mystery. It was a wound that never fully healed. They received no clear account of their loved ones' final moments. And so, the question remains, were these tragedies merely a cluster of unrelated accidents, or was 1968 the year of a secret undersea conflict we may never truly uncover? Whatever the truth, the crews of the Dakar, Minerve, K-129, and Scorpion gave their lives in service to their countries, vanishing into the deep where the answers still lie, silent beneath the waves.